I'm gonna start off with 485 grams of brown mushrooms, or baby portobellos, creminis. They're just the little brown buttons. Smaller, they're a little bit bigger than the buttons. And then I have 300 grams of button mushrooms and two, they call them large whites here, or portobellos, mini portobellos. So these are the mushrooms we'll use. And we're gonna be doing this one as a whole foods, plant-based, no oil version. So we're just gonna prep these up. Start off with the big ones, the big boys. We're gonna save the stems. Just put those here to the side. We'll scrape out the gills. Okay, so I'm just gonna slice these up. Whites. Oop. Hold on to them. Just check, make sure they're all clean. Slice these. You can slice them, you can quarter them, whatever you want. I'm going to save some of the nicer ones. Let's see. A handful of these nicer ones. We'll use these as garnishes when it's done. Set those aside. Now for the brown ones. Damn it, I'm always losing these mushrooms. Same thing, I'm gonna leave the stems on these. If there's any super dirty ones, make sure you just check. Set some of these aside here. I'm just going to take these. And you can even quarter these if you want. It doesn't really matter. Always still holding my hand the same when I'm cutting these. Always face forward. I see too many people cutting like this. And it scares the crap out of me when they do that. Always like this. Always the knuckle is the guard. Here on top. Looks like quite a bit of mushrooms, but they're going to shrink down a lot. Next up, we're going to do one onion and just a quick dice. Again, anytime I get to cut a vegetable, I'm happy. Get to practice knife skills all the time. Just going to do just a rough dice. Next up, a couple stalks of celery. Right with the onions. Right to the dry pan. No oil. Start off with the onions and celery. I like to use the phrase, we're going to let them get to know the pan. So you can hear them all talking and sizzling and just conversing away, going crazy. Just gonna let that happen. Let the heat pull out the juices of the onion and that celery. Let a little bit of caramelization happen. This is a mushroom soup, so I want some color on it. You can see. So we'll let this saute for a couple minutes. Pan starts to get a little bit brown on the bottom. It's nice, it's working its magic. So I got a little bit of caramelization on there. Just gonna add the rest of the mushrooms. I'm going to let them sweat down a little bit, let that liquid come out of the mushrooms so they don't burn on the bottom of the pan, and then we'll start prepping some of the other ingredients. Because I'm doing this as a whole foods plant-based, no oil, we're going to need something to make it creamier, something to make it thicker. I'm going to use cauliflower. Don't have to do too much. It's going to cook quick when it goes in there. I'm going to lower this heat to a medium high, right? It was ripping high. More of like a medium high for now. Just rip this up. All get blended, so not too worried. I like my cutting board to be super clean whenever I'm cutting anything. Not like other things on it. It's picky that way. Peel this. Now you could leave the skin on. I don't know why I'm taking it off, but I'll take it off this time. Pretty large chunks. So give it a good rinse. Wash off some of that starch. Just give it a rinse. And I'll just add the cauliflower right to the top. Like can see this steaming quite a bit. So much liquid in there. Yeah, turn that back up, the heat back up, scrape from the bottom of the pan. If there's any stuff on the bottom, that's just flavor. It should come right up. Next, garlic. I'm going to use like 5 of these size cloves of garlic. I'm going to add them right to this for now. Just a quick smash just to help get the skins off. Makes it super easy to come off. And then just pick off that hard bit. A mortar and pestle is a nice thing to have. It's kind of a necessity for me to have it here. And just remove those skins. I like grinding my own pepper. I like a small teaspoon of white pepper. Same with the black pepper. Post peppercorn edit here. If you like black pepper, add as much as I did. If you're not that big of a fan, cut it in half. I love the black pepper. Tastes amazing. The white and the black really make a nice combination, but it adds a little bit of spice. Super flavorful, if that's what you're looking for. Stick to the recipe. If not, just add a little bit of less. Cheers. I put the towel underneath it to absorb the vibration so nothing shakes around too much and it doesn't make too much noise. I mean, it's always gonna make noise, but it won't make too much. And I'm just gonna pulverize the peppercorns to get them down so they're all broken, and then grind them like this. Oh, it smells so good. And then the garlic, just going right in. Smash them all, gets those juices out of that garlic. Nice. Yeah, so that looks great. And this is looking good. All right, so all the liquid's pretty much dissolving from here. And because we're not adding a lot of fat, or any fat, these are sticking nicely. So if I need to, we're going to be adding some veg stock to its veg broth. I'm just going to add a touch in here, loosen up the pan. We'll end up adding over a liter of it, so that's just a little bit of it here. And it just helps loosen it up. Cook those mushrooms. I want to draw as much flavor as I can out of these mushrooms. You could use dried mushrooms as well for more umami, much deeper mushroom flavor, but I don't have any. So I'm just going to use these button ones. Add the cauliflower and the potato. I'm going to cook this a little bit. And I'm going to add garlic, and there's a flavor bomb right there. I'm going to make sure I get it all out. This just helps us clean it and also gets all the flavor out from the bottom. For the protein concerned, I am going to add, so we have the potato in there, cauliflower, the 3 mushrooms, garlic, peppers, and I'm going to add some white beans for a little bit of protein. It'll also help thicken it up. That broth. I'm going to do a liter of vegetable broth. Cover this, bring it to a boil. Heat up this pan. It's going to take a minute to heat this. So while that's heating up, I'm just going to pick some herbs. I have some rosemary, some fresh sage I got from out in the back garden, some rosemary, sage, and some thyme. And I'm just going to pick these really quick. These mushrooms. And for this, I'm just going to chop these. Get that nice fragrance. It smells delicious. Just fresh herbs. So these will be our garnish, and I just want to get some nice color on them so they'll look good on top. Nice, peppery, delicious. Okay, so the potatoes are almost done. What I'm going to do is add most of these herbs. And the nice thing about the cast iron pan is nothing really sticks to it because it's so well seasoned. If you're doing no oil cooking, I would suggest a cast iron pan. Although you need oil to season it, it's a great tool. I'm going to add a little bit of smoked paprika to these mushrooms, just a little bit. Give them a little bit of flavor. They're going to be going on the top. I do have some parsley in there. I'll save a couple sprigs for the garnish, but I'm going to chop some of this parsley. And I tend to save the stems if you're going to make stock or anything. I just crunch it up. And let's stir this through. What I'm going to do is add a little bit of liquid to that. Here's the only oil in this recipe. Always re-season it. It's all ready for the next time. Turn this heat off, and we're gonna blend this. It's really, really freaking hot. We'll sit for a minute, and then I'll set up the blender. I like to do it in the sink to be safe, not getting the splashes everywhere. I don't want to overfill it, so I'll save a little bit. I'll just do half and half. All right, so when blending, always got to be super careful. Make sure all the power's off. This thing is so powerful it'll power a small bit. Just a Vitamix. I leave the cover off to leave the steam to come out, and then towel on top just in case, on wicked low. Okay, we'll add the rest of this. And a little bit of water to clean this out. It's really thick. Flame tamer, I've shown this before. Great Christmas gift for somebody. It's just a flame tamer. It goes underneath the pot. Helps prevent any burning. I'm just gonna have that on a medium low. Looks beautiful, super velvety. Yum. It's a little peppery. You might want to add a little bit less white pepper, but I love the taste of pepper and it gives it a nice little slight kick. But the flavors are super balanced. You definitely don't miss any oil or fat in this. If you want, you could add some oat milk to it. Let's do that. Oops. I'm gonna add a little bit of oat milk. You add whatever kind you want. My drink of choice is this. This will also lighten it up a little bit. So some of the herbs, I'm just gonna mix these rest of these right in to the top here. Now there's so many other things we could do to this. If we want, we could add added some small diced boiled potatoes and then just had this in it for texture if you don't just like super cream soups. But this can also be a sauce. I could add a little bit more of that browning liquid that I've made gravy with, and we can make this into a gravy. Easy. If you want to add texture to it, you could add chickpeas, you could add the beans right to it. This is just a nice, comforting, warm, silky smooth whole foods plant-based mushroom soup. I got that parsley here and a little bit of the herbs. I'm just going to mix that right in. Give it a little bit of freshness. Another helpful tip, whenever you're ladling anything, always hold it from the middle. You have so much more control over the ladle. Right in the middle, not at the end. You have no control over it in the end. And we have those mushrooms that we cooked off earlier. I don't have any tweezers. And a nice sprig of parsley. That didn't take too long at all. Really quick, really easy. Potato, a little bit of cauliflower, quite a bit of mushrooms in there. We didn't add any salt, if you noticed. The low sodium veg broth had plenty of salt in it. And if I'm gonna add salt, now is the time I'm gonna do it on top. And it's super delicious. Heartwarming. Now, like I said, you can add whatever you want on top. You could add croutons, this or that. But to be pure, whole foods, plant-based, no oil, here you go. Super delicious and really good for you. If you haven't seen Frankie too much, because she's on another play date, but she'll be back soon.